Tragic loss. ITV icon Bradley Walsh passes away suddenly at age 65. Broken our hearts, this news. Must see. You think you know someone, until the lights come on, the cameras roll, and the pressure of primetime telly turns a smiling face into something else entirely. I went on ITV's The Chase expecting nerves, questions, and maybe a few laughs. What I got was a moment I'll never forget, because Bradley Walsh, that cheeky chap with the jokes, showed me his true colors. And trust me, they were nothing like the primetime gloss you see every day. It started with a quiet click on my laptop, an application form, a cup of tea, and a dream I never quite believed in. I was 63, retired, and looking for a bit of fun. My daughter said, "Mum, go on The Chase. You've always shouted the answers at the telly." A few weeks later, the call came. I'd been chosen. Me! On national telly. We were told, don't overthink it, just enjoy the moment. But I couldn't stop wondering, what would Bradley Walsh be like in real life? Would he be just like the charming, cheeky chap we all know? Or was that just for show? Bradley entered the studio like a whirlwind, that signature grin, sharp suit, and a voice full of confidence. He shook hands with the producers, shared a joke with the sound team, and waved at us contestants like we were old mates. You could hear a pin drop until he said, "Right, who's ready to win a few grand and make me look like a genius?" The room burst into laughter. At that moment I thought, he's exactly how I hoped. But what I didn't know was that pressure can crack even the best masks, and mine and Bradley's relationship would soon take a twist no one saw coming. Before filming, we sat backstage. No cameras, just four of us nervously chatting over sandwiches. And that's where things got interesting. Bradley popped in unexpectedly. He didn't have to, but he did. He asked how we were doing, cracked a few jokes, and shared a quiet tip. Don't overthink it. Don't chase the chaser. Just play your game. In that moment, I thought, something rare. A man who truly cared about the contestants. It wasn't for show. No audience, no applause, just a warm human moment. But soon, everything changed. When it was my turn, my heart thudded in my chest like a drum. I stepped onto the set, lights blazing, Bradley standing there like a general at the front lines. He grinned. Ready to be a legend. I laughed. That calmed me. A little. I scored £6,000. Not bad for a granny from Devon. Bradley clapped, nodded and said, "You've got some fire in you." But behind that smile, I caught a flicker of something else. Maybe doubt, maybe concern. I couldn't tell. But what happened next, that's when I saw everything change. The face-off, the governess stepped out. It was Anne Hegarty, sharp as a tack and not to be trifled with. I took the middle offer, wanting to play it safe for the team. But Bradley didn't agree. He leaned in. "You've got more in you than that," he said quietly. "Play the higher offer. Show everyone what you're made of." And I'll be honest, that shook me. Because it wasn't a showbiz voice anymore. It was real. It was almost personal. I stayed with the middle. Anne beat me with 2 seconds to spare. I was out, crushed, embarrassed. I walked back to the green room, heart heavy. I'd let the team down. But what Bradley did next revealed everything. Backstage, I expected a pat on the back, maybe a polite goodbye. But Bradley followed me. He pulled me aside, and then he surprised me completely. He said, "Don't you dare feel small. That was brave. Most people wouldn't have stepped up at all. You played smart, you played proud. You're the kind of player this show needs." No cameras, no audience, just Bradley Walsh showing compassion, kindness, and wisdom. He wasn't performing, he was being, and it changed how I saw him forever. We sat down in the studio kitchen. He made me a cuppa. Yes, Bradley Walsh made me a cuppa. We spoke about family, aging, and what TV gets wrong about real people.
He shared a story about his mum, how she'd always believed in second chances. He said he sees a bit of her in every contestant. It was more than just telly. It was life, real, warm human connection. That day, Bradley showed me that behind the jokes is a man of deep feeling, a man who hasn't forgotten where he came from. I asked him, "How do you stay so grounded?" And he laughed. He said, "Because I've cleaned toilets in Watford and been laughed at in Panto. You don't forget that." He told me that fame is fleeting, but kindness lasts, and that's the legacy he wants to leave. In a world of egos and scripted sentiment, Bradley's warmth is something money can't fake. As I left the studio, I looked back. Bradley caught my eye across the stage. He winked, gave me a salute and mouthed, "You did good." It wasn't much, but it meant everything. As I packed up my things and prepared to leave the studio, one of the production runners, a young woman named Ellie, came over to help. She whispered, "You know, not everyone sees the Bradley we see." I turned to her, curious. She smiled and added, "He always checks in on the crew, even the night shift cleaners. He brings biscuits for the lighting team. That's why we all stay on this show." It stopped me in my tracks. We often forget that fame can change people, and not always for the better. But what I was hearing, it backed up everything I felt. This wasn't a man acting kind for the camera, it was who he was. A week after my episode aired, I received a letter. No return address, handwritten. I opened it, and there it was. "Thank you for being brave, honest, and for sharing your spirit. People like you make this show special. B." I stared at the signature. B. Bradley. It wasn't just a form letter, it was real. He remembered. And in that moment, I realized something profound. Kindness, when offered freely, doesn't vanish after the cameras stop. It leaves echoes in the hearts of others. When the show aired, my family gathered around the telly. My grandson wore a Team Nan t-shirt. My son, who's normally as stoic as a Buckingham Palace guard, wiped away a tear when he saw me get caught. But what really touched me was what he said after watching Bradley console me. "Mum, he treated you like royalty." We often talk about what our generation leaves behind, but I realized then we can still pass on courage, dignity, and grace, even on game shows. Months later, I was at my local garden centre picking up begonias when a woman stopped me. "I saw you on The Chase," she exclaimed. And she leaned in, lowered her voice and said, "That Bradley, he's got a proper heart, hasn't he?" I smiled and said, "He's got more than that. He's got a soul that listens." It struck me that Bradley wasn't just a presenter. He was a memory maker, not just for the viewers, but for the people on the show, for people like me. Back in my youth, I worked at a small theatre. I saw plenty of stars come and go. Many were lovely, some weren't. But there's something about Bradley that bucks the trend. He's not just performing for applause. He's performing because he knows the power of encouragement, the importance of making people feel seen. And in a world of egos and scripted sentiment, Bradley's warmth is something money can't fake. Since being on The Chase, I walk a little taller, not because of the TV exposure, but because I faced my fears, stood under studio lights, and was reminded of the goodness in people, of how small kindnesses, like a wink from Bradley, a private chat, or a handwritten note, can lift your soul. It's easy to believe celebrities are untouchable, but every now and then you meet one who feels like your neighbour, your friend, a decent bloke who happens to be on telly. That's Bradley. Life went back to normal after my episode aired. Sort of. I still pop down to the corner shop. I still argue with the telly. But now strangers sometimes stop me and ask, "Was he really that lovely?" And every time I smile and say, "Even better than you think." Bradley Walsh gave me more than memories. He reminded me that we're never too old to be surprised, or to be respected, or to be seen. There was no big headline that day, no scandal, no viral moment, just a game show. But to me, it was a moment that stitched together years of self-doubt and replaced them with pride. Bradley could have just been a host, but instead he became a guide, a gentleman, a quiet inspiration. To all of you watching who wonder if you're too old to take a chance, you're not, whether it's applying for a quiz show, picking up a paintbrush again, or just saying yes when you usually say no. Do it, because on the other side of fear, you just might find yourself and a Bradley Walsh or two along the way. And when you do, send me a letter. I'll make you a cuppa and tell you all about my time on the chase. As I look back, I realize the show was never just about trivia. It was about spirit, resilience, kindness under pressure, and the quiet dignity of people who care deeply, even when no one's watching. So, to Bradley Walsh, if you ever hear this, thank you